Hello everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition, and I figured I'd try to bring you a quick how to play of Wingspan. Rezvan will probably get a Persian version out, eventually, the alliteration Persian version, eventually, but she's trying to read the rules in English for herself and then be able to translate it all. But anyways, Wingspan is a 1 to 5 player game. It's for ages 14 plus. It takes 40 to 70 minutes to complete. All right, as usual, I will try to put in timestamps, but then as usual, I will show you guys the setup and then try to go really quick through how to play. This is a fairly simple game, though at first glance you might think there's a lot going on, but hopefully I'll break it down so you can understand it. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to set up our bird cards. And boy, are there a lot of bird cards. As I was setting this up for you guys, I think they said 100. Well, I don't know, I have 152 stuck in my head. There's probably more. It feels like way more than that. But there's a lot of bird cards. I probably could have put half of them out when I set up the game, but I didn't. I put them all out. So anyways, first you set up your bird cards. You have a tray topper that also can be used as your slots to put in your 3 birds for everybody to choose from. But you go ahead and shuffle up your stack of birds, you put your 3 birds out. Once you have that down, you go ahead and set up the supply, which consists of your food tokens, and I have them all mixed in here, and your eggs. Doesn't matter that there's different colors, you just kind of mix them all up. And you'd want to put both these, the reason that it's divided like this is you'd want to be able to put it out so everyone can reach it. As you can see, this is kind of a sprawling game. And in the book, when they show you the setup, they show all this kind of stuff kind of in the middle and all the boards pushed out way to the sides. Can't do that here with my setup. So here you go. So you got the food out. Then after that, what you want to do is you want to set up the goal board. Now this is the goal board right here. And I'm not going to flip it because I have the little goal tokens on there. But one side's green, one side's blue. Green is your starting side, and it's more competitive. Blue is your less competitive side. But they say for a normal game, you would use the green, which has your first place, second place, third place, and then fourth and fifth, because it's up to 5 players, would go right here in this. It doesn't say fourth or fifth, but that's where they go. All right, the next thing you want to do is set up, like I said, your goal tiles. Your goal tiles are these. They are double-sided. And you have a decent amount. Is there double? Where did I throw the goal cards? Goal cards or tokens. Yeah, so there's double. You have 8 overall. You give them a good shuffle, blindly set them out. Right? And then you have your goal cards all out here. And it always has to do with eggs on certain birds or birds in habitats. Right? And then you have, I think one says overall. This total amount of birds on your board. But these are your goals for the end of each round. Round 1, round 2, round 3, and round 4. All right, once you have that done, we get to dive into the bonus cards that we put out, which are right here. Here are your bonus cards. You go ahead and give them a shuffle, set the stack of bonus cards out. Once that's done, it's time to set up your players, right? These are your player mats. I don't know why I put that cube there. I think I was kind of going over the rules right before this just to make sure I had them. All right. So to set up the players, first you give each player a player mat. The next thing that you want to give each player is 8 action cubes in the color that they choose. Gotta swipe them off the table like that. So you give them the 8 action cubes to each player. Then what you want to do is you want to give them 2 random bonus cards. And then you want to also give them 5 random bird cards. And you give them 1 of each food, these food tokens, you give them 1 of each. I don't remember what they are. I call it bird, but I think it's like invertebrate and things like that. But you have your different food tokens. All right. So once everybody has that, you're kind of ready to rock. But what you need to do is decide first what cards you want to keep. You can keep all 5 cards, but for every card you keep, you have to get rid of 1 of the food tokens that you have, right? So you might want to pay attention to what foods you might need. Let me get a little closer. What foods you might need for each bird that you have. So in this case, I'll probably do a bad choice, but let's say we're going to keep 3 birds. I don't know. I want to keep them all for the grasslands. and we're going to get rid of these 2 birds. We're going to put them in the discard. That means we got to get rid of 3 things of food, but as you can see, we need 1, 2, 3 types of food. We only have 5, so we're going to say we're getting rid of a fish. We don't need a fish, and we need worms in there, we need cherries in there, we need feathers. We're going to get rid of a rat, and then we got to think it through now, because we might need one of these, but we're going to say, cherry is the one that we might need the less, so we get rid of those 3. We only have 2 left. We have 3 cards in our hand. So every card you keep, you have to pay one of your food tokens. All right. So that's set up. Doesn't matter if people see your cards or not. It's really kind of up to you. And then bonus cards you don't want people to see because they might try to mess with you. So you have bonus cards and you want to pick what bonus card that you want, right? And they all have different bonuses that you're going to end up getting. So you choose one, you get rid of one. We're just going to say for speed's sake, we're choosing that one. And we're getting rid of this one. You can put it in a discard. I sometimes do discard face up at the bottom of the stack, so I know the difference, especially when there's not a lot of room on the board. Now, every player would do that simultaneously. Once that's done, you randomly pick the first player, you give them this first player token, and you're ready to go. Now, when we get ready to play the game, let's go over the overview for it, right? So what you end up doing is, like I said, you're going to have 4 rounds. Within that round, you're going to choose to do one of 4 things on your mat. You have play a bird, gain food, lay eggs, or draw bird cards, right? This one, I always forget that this one is a thing that you can do, though it's what you have to do to play the game because it's so small and the rest of these are big. But just remember there are 4 things that you can do. Each person chooses what they want to do in these categories. They go ahead and take one of their cubes and they put it in the vacant spot, right? The rightmost vacant spot. So your first vacant spot that you have there. So in this case, if I want to, obviously you can go ahead and put these anywhere, but if I want to do something, I go ahead and put the cube down and do it. This would be for playing a bird. We'll get into each of these 4 things. So you put a cube down, and then once you've done your thing, everyone goes around, does theirs. Once all your cubes have been placed, then the round is over. You do some round cleanup, and then first player moves to the next person clockwise, and then you go around the table. And of course, you go in clockwise order. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into these different things that we can do. And don't worry, I will explain the cards and some of these meanings on the cards, but we'll do it as we go through what you do with your cards. All right, so the first thing, like I said, you can do is play a card. So you can go ahead, put your cube down right there, and you put the cube down in the card row that you're going to play. So you always have to play your card in the leftmost position in the different areas. You have your greenlands, your grasslands, and your water. I might be calling them wrong. I'm pretty sure this is grasslands, but you have your 3 areas. You can see it's denoted by the little diamonds. These are squares tilted sideways. So if you put your cube here, and you have to because you have nothing else here. So if you put your cube there, you're saying you're going to place a card in one of these areas, right? You're going to play a card. And what you have to do to play a card, let's go ahead and flip our little example cards over here, is you choose one that fits one of the areas that you could play. So these are all grassland, so they'd all go right here. Next, you have to look at what you have food for. So this tells you how much food it takes for it. It takes 1 worm and 1 cherry, which I didn't keep. Let's say I kept that because I was smart and I knew what I was doing. All right, so let's say I kept those 2. So if there's a plus, it means both. And some have a slash. Let's see if I can find one just sitting out. Of course there's not. You might see some that have a slash, kind of like on this. Oh, we could do it here, kind of with this cube here. It means either or. You can use either of those. So if you see something like that on the card, it just means either or. This means plus. So to play this card, we would have to first pay any eggs that we have to pay. So 1 egg, 2 eggs for those columns, but this column, no eggs. So we'd go ahead and put that card down. We don't have to pay any eggs for this column, but we do have to pay the food. Then we go ahead and we take this food and we pay it, and now we have a card in the grassland. Then it goes to the next person, so on and so forth. Now, the other thing that you can do, let's go ahead and rewind there a little bit and say that we are going to do something else. So that's gain food. Oh, I should probably keep this here. One other thing you do, once you go here, this is for all of them. This was playing a bird. So once you're done, you keep moving your cube over one space. So let's pretend this is filled up and I place this bird somewhere right here. I would slowly move my cube across, doing any powers that we have down here. And it'll tell you right here what to do, and you keep moving it over until you land right here in the last spot, which means you're done with that turn. Once you're done, then it goes to the next person. Now, the other thing that you can do when playing this game, or one of the other choices you have, is gain food. How gain food works is the same thing. You're going to go right here and say, I'm gaining food. So you're going to go to the rightmost empty slot that you can go. So I don't have a card. Let's say we had this one can go to any of them because it has the different symbols right there. It can go to any 3 of these. So let's, for argument's sake, say that's there. I want to go ahead, and when I go to say I'm going to gain food, I would put my cube right here. And then once I do what I'm supposed to do, then I slowly move the cube back until it ends here, which means my turn is over. And there's a reason for that, because these are activations that a card can do. So as you move the cube, you do what you can do in each of those spaces. All right. So for now, we're going to say gain food. And what you end up doing is you pick one of the die from here to gain food. We can look at this and say, oh, we know we're going to need some leaves. Go ahead and take that out of the feeder. And this says, doesn't mean you get both. It means you get one or the other. So I'd have to choose between a worm or grain, whatever that is. But we know we need grain, so you take that out of the feeder. You go ahead and get one of those food, goes to you. Once that's done, you once again move to the next spot left till you get down here. That means your turn's over. Now, if you ever have, it's your turn and you go to gain food and there's 2 of the same, you could take all 5 dice and go ahead and feed them back through. And then you can choose. This counts too if there is just 1 die in there. There's 1 die in there, it is the same, you don't want that, you get a chance to take all the dice, and roll them. So you can go ahead and put them in there and roll all the dice out. All right, I believe in the setup, I forgot to say, you put out your dice tower and you roll your first set of dice, but there you go. All right, also, of course, if there are no dice in here, guess what you do? That's right, you want food, you pick them all up and you roll them. All right, so that is going ahead and gaining food if you wanted to gain food. The next thing that you can do down here is lay eggs. Once again, you put the cube where you want, you do what's in that space. You don't put the cube where you want. You put the cube for laying eggs, right? Then you lay eggs. You put the cube down at the rightmost open spot. So this is the rightmost open spot right here. You go ahead and put the egg or the cube down and you get yourself 2 eggs. Color does not matter. Then you slowly move your cube over, doing any actions you can do along the way till it gets right there. And then your turn's over. Now, let me jump back here really quick. When you see these things, and you'll see them on each one, it means that you can trade something for something. And it's usually trading for what you're getting there. You could trade a card to get an extra die from the feeder. Here you could trade any type of food to lay 1 extra egg. And then down here, you can get rid of any egg to draw an extra card, but we haven't gotten there yet. So, one of the things about laying eggs is you need to have someone you put eggs on, right? So as you can see on these cards, you have how many eggs a card can hold. So arguably if we had this guy right here, we can lay 2 eggs on him. Whoops. Right? We can put 2 eggs down on him. And it doesn't matter, you can put eggs anywhere on your board that you want. So let's say we go back over here. Let's say we don't have this card down yet. We go over here, we say we want to lay eggs. This guy can hold 2 eggs. So we'd go ahead and put 2 eggs down on him. Then we would keep moving left until we get to this end spot. And we would do anything we do that we can do in each of those spots. All right. So that is egg laying. And like I said, remember, you could always convert. If there is a bird already right here, you put your cube there, you get 2 eggs, right? And you can place them on him, obviously. And you have the option, the eggs want to fly everywhere. You have the option to also get rid of 1 food to gain 1 more egg. And that egg can go on any of your birds, but you have nowhere to kind of put that egg. All right. We have laid eggs. Our next thing that we can do is draw cards. So once again, if you decide to draw cards on your turn, you put your cube right there. You go ahead and draw 1 card. You can pick any of these cards from here, and you have a wild card from up here. When drawing cards, you never fill up this card until the end of your turn. Why is that? Because you can draw multiple cards. 3, 2, 2, 1, right? You would never fill this up to the end of your turn, so just keep that in mind when you draw a card. You do that. Once again, draw a card. You say, I like this one, right? You put it in your hand. There's no size limit to your hand. And then you move this cube over until you get here and do any actions you can. Remember, once again, you can, if you're in this area, you can do an egg to a card. All right, so there are those things. And then, of course, talking about when I say you set this down at the rightmost empty position, if you have all 4 cards down here, this is your rightmost empty position. It allows you to draw 4 cards and spend an egg to draw an extra card if you choose. 4 eggs, this is obviously the optimal position. It's an engine builder, right? All right, so there's that. And you keep doing this, you go round and round. So there's some things to keep in mind. So once everybody's gone, they're all out of their cubes, their turn cubes, their action cubes, however you want to look at it. Then you do some cleanup. The first thing you do when you're doing this cleanup is you want to make sure that you go ahead and get rid of you take all of your cubes, because these cubes are going to be all over the board, right? Because the round is not over until you've spent all your cubes. So you clean up your cubes, you go ahead and grab them all back. So now you have more actions to do. Once you do that, then you want to go ahead and clean up the bird feeder. So you have, I call this the bird feeder. You go ahead and take this, you take any of the cards that are in here, you clean them out, and you put fresh cards down. There's a reason I'm drawing from the bottom here. You'd draw them from the top, and you'd put your fresh cards down in there to fill up your cards to draw from. All right? So the next thing you want to do is, I kind of do this out of order, but you want to score on here. And so what you do is you look at people what place that they're in. So you have, like I said, your first place, second place, third place, fourth and fifth go there. And at the end, you'll score points for being there. But what you do is you take one of your action cubes, say it's into the first round, you see who has the most birds with a certain nest. Let's see if we can jump this up. There are 4 different nests, if I remember right, but that's the nest type. I think that's platform nest. Whoever has the most eggs, they can go ahead and go there, second, third, so on and so forth. All right, and then that would stay there, right? Then you go ahead and take this, you give it to the next player, and you start the next round. You go round and round till all your action tokens are gone, or action cubes are gone. Then you score for the round, you fill this back up. so on and so forth. I just lost a cube. I'll have to remember to grab that. So on and so forth until the game is over. Once you get to in-game scoring, that's the end of the 4th round, you go ahead, you have this right here. You can laminate it. You can just use it and have everybody use their phones. I believe this is single player, maybe on the back. Yep, the Atama. All right, so you go ahead and use this to do score. You score your birds. Your birds have scores on them. Those feathers are their scores. This is also your nest type. That's so you understand for scoring. And as we said, that's how many eggs you can have on them. You score your birds. You score your bonus cards, any bonuses that you've achieved. You score your points for the end of each round, your in-round points. You go ahead and count each egg, each egg on a card, on a bird card, each food on a card, and then any tuck cards. There are birds that allow you to tuck cards underneath them. Whoever has the most points wins the game. Now, one last thing that I want to go over before you guys run out, or leave me, before you guys leave me, then you can see what I do in another life when I say run out, is talk about these cards and how what you're looking at on these cards. I think I have all the ones that I want to look at. Nope, I did a weird shuffle thing. All right, that's fine. We'll figure this out here in a second. So you have different types of cards. Let's see if I can grab another one. Oh, nice, right on top. So we need one of these and one of these and one of these. All right. So, sorry, it's a little loud. There are some different cards you run into. This is a when activated. Remember when I said you go rightmost and you move to the left? If you have cards, you're going to activate those cards, right? So if I had my cube here, as I start moving to the left, I get to do that activation if I want. I get to do that activation if I want. So those are your when activated. Brown is when activated. It's when your cube is moving back over here to say that you're done with your turn. Then you have pink, and it tells you on here, once between turns. So once between turns, if something happens, you can do this, right? Then you have when played. So this means when you put that card into the habitat, you get to do that extra action. And some birds won't have when played, right? So those are the different cards that you'll run across in the game. That is basically how you play the game, how you game the game. That's how you game the game. Hopefully that was quick and understandable, but that is definitely how you play Wingspan. I'm Steven with Cardboard Coalition. Hopefully in the next one we'll get Rezvan to do a Persian version once she gets the book down, but I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh yeah, comment, subscribe, bell notifications, all that stuff, helping us grow this coalition. It'd be nice to have a big coalition, lots of comments and talking. So catch you in the next one.